It was the most beautiful fall day. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. There was absolutely no humidity.
I had gone out to get some coffee, and I heard the boom and turned around and saw the huge black smoke column coming up.
We heard a loud noise. My boss came to the door and asked me to step into the hallway, and he, quote, said, "We are under attack." Didn't know quite how to take that.
Do you recall anything the day of 9/11?
I was stationed in the Pentagon, in the Navy Command Center in the Pentagon, which is in the basement wing that got hit.
The guy I was doing the job for came out with tears in his eyes.
I thought it was an accident. And, because it was only the one plane. And then all of a sudden.
And he was just saying they just bombed one of our buildings and it flew a plane into it.
The second one hit. I remember my heart just dropped.
Fortunately, I was not physically there that day because I was working out of the Naval Academy that day. And it was a very sad day for all of us because I lost a lot of coworkers that I used to work with.
You could just see, I still can remember his face to the day. He was so upset to see what was happening.
My first reaction was just get home, because at the time my school, Trinity, is in DC, so I already knew that it was about to be mayhem. So I just wanted to get home to my dad.
All I could think of was Mika,
my mom,
my fiance at the time.
It was frantic when I pulled out of the garage of my building, Hummer tanks and police guards on the street with their rifles.
Like going in front, looking for a needle in a haystack, really, because as everyone's trying to leave the district, I'm going right into where the problems are.
My main concern, the only way it affected me then was I knew I was pregnant and I felt like I had to get out of the district and get to safety.
I found out she had no idea the entire time I was talking to her that her sister-in-law had been on the plane that crashed out of Boston.
We had family and friends who were police officers, retired police, firemen. The smell of death, burning flesh, the ash, smoke in the air, it being hard to breathe, feeling like they were going to die, and just the horror that they witnessed.
I remember driving by the Pentagon while it was still smoking, and you could not believe that something like that could happen in the United States.
But then when the towers fell, when you saw the people running out and all the smoke and the injured people, it was like something you never experienced before. It was horror, it was terror. I can't explain it.
Daddy and I actually got in the car the next day and went over across from the Pentagon, and it changed everybody, because when you see the hole in the ground, it was really scary because nobody really understood what had happened or why.
I couldn't think who would do something like that.
It's just one of those times where you don't wish that on your worst enemy.
We didn't know what was next. I think that was what was scared. I think everyone in America was very frightened about what was next. Is something else going to happen?
I actually remember driving home and looking for airplanes above, just wondering if they might, other planes were hijacked.
And I looked up where there were fighter jets flying in formation in the sky. And I found that to be just very out of the norm.
It just had an overall impact on just seeing the towers come down, seeing the lives lost and the live footage. It was very traumatic.
There was just a strange peacefulness to the environment, despite all the terror that was going on. That'll stick with me forever.
How would you explain how 9/11 impacted your life?
It drastically impacted my life. Actually resulted me to change the career. I started working on the unmanned aircraft.
Everyone was on alert, you just didn't know what to expect from people. You looked at everybody twice.
So it had you on alert, and during that time, it was a terrible time to fly because, you just didn't know.
As a person who flies a lot, and 4 colleagues from my company were killed on planes that day, it always makes you think a little bit more when that happens.
You didn't just go about your life. Everything was suspect to overanalyzing.
I think the biggest takeaway and surprise was that we're vulnerable.
After 9/11, I had the knowledge that, at any day, at any point, there could be, a terrorist attack.
It awakened me to the fact that we're vulnerable, not just in the U.S., but anywhere, to a lone wolf type of attack.
I mean, I think it made me more aware of what happens in the world.
Because you assume, almost anything can happen.
How do you think that those who lost their lives in the attacks of 9/11 should be remembered?
Remember those who were first responders on that day that saved many lives.
It was a very sad day for everybody in New York and DC and throughout the whole country, so my hearts go out to all of them. And being a veteran myself, serving 3 tours in the U.S. military in the Gulf, this really hit home to me. And, I did everything I could to help out the people I cared about and worked for.
I wanted to appreciate the military and the police and the fire department a little more. So I've tried to the day, reach out and thank them.
How do you think the country changed after 9/11?
The biggest change then was that I felt like the country came together.
I remember listening to President Bush and being, it felt like country was so much more important than party, and people's lives are so much more important than this political nonsense that happens.
More American flags were flying. When random people that you met out at the store would say, "How are you?" It felt like they really cared. It wasn't just a random question.
Important for us to remember that innocent lives were lost, but there was some kindness shown. There was solidarity, that the U.S. came together.
And I think that feeling of unity was like, out of the most horrific event, something positive to take from it.
Knowing that people were encouraged, and there was a lot of courage, acts of courage.
We pulled together as a community, as a country, to do what we feel is best, and thank God it has never happened again.
Even though most of the time we go most of the year and we don't necessarily think about it per se until the 11th, it's amazing how all of those feelings just come back almost 20 years later.
So I felt like the country came together in a way that we could use right now.
I know this was a very touchy subject and everything.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you for your responses. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. Bye.
Thank you.